It is Groundhog's Day. That's a private joke, friends, that are my friends. Reach out to me and ask me what I was talking about there. That was a funny joke. Probably the funniest joke that's going to be delivered here today. Yeah, maybe not.
And silence in the room.
So big political news.
Yes.
Tony, you're a political beast.
I'm so excited with this news.
Yeah.
Making history once again.
Yeah.
Breathing a sigh of relief.
That's right.
Feeling like we're living in this normal world again.
Yes.
It's such an exciting time.
And the biggest LGBT government position ever in history today on February 2nd. Wow. We're going to lead with it. Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It is 7 p.m. Tuesday, February 2nd, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. The world's first live daily queer evening news show. Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Well, thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is a live, unedited LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, you're going to see it. This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across our world. I'm your Queer News Tonight anchor, Al Ferguson, and tonight, let's welcome anchor Tony Lima. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Ariana's Center, Trans-Latina Florida, the only direct service and advocacy organization based in South Florida led by a trans-Latina openly living with HIV. He is also a longtime South Florida LGBTQ activist, advocate, and political operative, as well as a seasoned communicator, marketer, and fundraiser. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening, Al. I'm excited to be here tonight with you.
Great. And next, let's welcome Gordon, our guest anchor, not really a guest anchor because he's with us all the time, Gordon Woodworth III. They identify as a pagan and is genderqueer, non-binary Gen Zer. They are currently a data entry and triage specialist at the nonprofit organization Broward House, a not-for-profit social services organization with nearly 30 years of providing services for our community impacted by HIV and other chronic health challenges. Good evening, Gordon.
Thanks, Al. I'm glad to be here supporting the pro-vaccination movement.
Oh, great. We're going to talk about vaccinations tonight. Tonight, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, February 2nd. We begin with breaking queer news. LGBTQ history is made, February 2nd, 2021. Senate confirms the first LGBTQ cabinet secretary, Pete Buttigieg, as transportation secretary. The Senate today confirmed Pete Buttigieg as transportation secretary, the first openly gay person to be confirmed to a cabinet post, tasked with advancing President Joe Biden's ambitious agenda of rebuilding the nation's infrastructure and fighting climate change. Buttigieg, a 39-year-old former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and Biden's one-time rival during the Democratic presidential primaries, was approved on an 86-13 vote. This is the most important political representation from the LGBTQ community in American history.
Praised by Biden as bringing a new voice to the administration, Buttigieg takes over a transportation department with 55,000 employees and a budget of tens of billions of dollars. The Afghanistan war veteran burst onto the national scene in 2019 after launching a long-shot presidential bid, introducing himself to voters as Mayor Pete, and drawing initial skepticism due to his youth and limited government experience. He outperformed expectations after zeroing in on a message of generational change, finishing the first in the nation Iowa caucuses in a virtual tie with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
That moment also made LGBTQ history and was extensively covered here at Queer News Tonight. Buttigieg brings diversity to the cabinet. There hasn't been an openly gay cabinet secretary before. Under President Donald Trump, Richard Grenell served as acting director of national intelligence and is openly gay, but did not have to face the Senate confirmation as an acting director. In the late 1990s, Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott blocked a confirmation vote on President Bill Clinton's pick for ambassador to Luxembourg, James Hormel, over his sexual orientation. It is noteworthy that our two senators from Florida, the gayest place on planet Earth, both voted no on the confirmation.
Alfonso David, president of the Human Rights Campaign, said after the vote, congratulations, quote, congratulations to Secretary Pete Buttigieg on his historic confirmation. This confirmation breaks through a barrier that has existed for too long, where LGBTQ identity served as an impediment to nomination or confirmation at the highest level of government.
You know, I love to see what we were just showing on screen, to see him kiss and hug his husband after whatever rally that was, is such a refreshing thing to see on television and in the media overall. To have an openly gay anything in this high level in the American government is an incredible thing, and I am personally elated.
I think there's good news and bad news with this. I think it's good news because obviously with that large of a majority in the Senate confirming him, being gay is no longer controversial. The bad news is this is proving that if you're gay, you can fail upward. You just have to be white.
Well, I'm not sure I would agree with that, Courtney. But we're in a situation where, first, shame on the two senators from Florida. You look ridiculous today, ridiculous, and you embarrass South Florida, certainly, and the entire state of Florida. Second, I have to say, the man is 39 years old, and the history of February 2nd, 2021 is also important, not only because of the significance of the level of importance of an LGBTQ representative in the United States government, the highest ever in history. It is probably a path of a door that has opened where we seriously are going to see an LGBT president or vice president of the United States. That's what 39 years old and this appointment today brings you. One last observation. We reported on Pete Buttigieg all through 2020 and earlier than that even on It's Happening Now. I could not pronounce his name. The reason he called himself Mayor Pete is none of us could pronounce his name. On February 2nd, 2021, the entire planet knows it's Buttigieg. Congratulations. Next, we're going to queer up business. Bumble bans fat shaming, racism, and anti-LGBTQ plus language. This week, Bumble, the dating app originally marketed for women to make the first move, has announced that it has banned all forms of derogatory language, including homophobic, biphobic, and transphobic speech. Although the app was originally just for straight people, in recent years it has expanded to cater for the LGBTQ plus community. Warnings will be given to users who violate the rules, and repeat offenders or someone who has made particularly harmful comments will be banned from using Bumble. The dating app took the move after research it commissioned found that a quarter of people have been body shamed on an app, while a half had someone they were dating make a, quote, unsolicited comment about their body either on a date or online, end quote. Posts of this nature will be flagged by automatic safeguards before being reviewed by a human moderator. Dating for LGBTQ plus people can be hard, and it's not made any easier when certain profiles on apps contain phrases like, quote, no fats or femmes, or no blacks or Asians, end quote. Many a social media post has gone viral after someone shared abusive, homophobic, or racist abuse they had received while messaging someone on an app. In a statement, Naomi Walkland, the head of Bumble, said, quote, at Bumble, we have always been clear on our mission to create a kinder, more respectful, and more equal space on the internet. Key to this has always been our zero tolerance policy for racist and hate-driven speech, abusive behavior, and harassment.
This is very necessary. I mean, words matter. And for a very long time, if we think back just a couple of years, this was the mainstay on all of these kind of dating apps, right? No fats, no femmes, no Asians, no blacks. So I'm happy to see Bumble take a stance on this because words matter and we need to start being as inclusive and as respectful as possible.
I agree with you, Tony. I think that I'm not surprised that Bumble is the first one to do this because they kind of have a reputation for having a better quality of profiles on their app. But I'm inspired by this because I'm hoping that other more important social media platforms will follow their lead.
Absolutely. You know, Gordon, I think you hit a bullseye, and I think here's the reason why. And this is what I've thought repeatedly. It is because your supposition that you just did on Bumble first is because it's driven by and for women. And commonly, I have heard and I have read very bright people in America say, if more women were involved in our business leadership of Fortune 500s and in government politics, our world would be better because their perspective is often kinder and more gentle and better. And I think that's what you see from Bumble. And I hope lots and lots of other apps follow suit and it becomes a new trend in our communication among each other in America.
Now it's time to queer up entertainment. Netflix adapts LGBTQ graphic novel series The Witch Boy into animated musical. Molly Knox Osterag's novels are set in a world where boys grow up to be shapeshifters, girls are raised to be witches, and anyone who tries otherwise is exiled. The story centers on Aster, a 13-year-old boy who has yet to shift and is fascinated by witchery. When a mysterious danger threatens his world, Aster embraces his skills with the help of non-magical and non-conforming friend, Charlie. Netflix's adaptation will transform Osterag's novels into an animated musical featuring music produced by Grammy-nominated pop rock trio Haim. Lee said, quote, "I am grateful to be creating this with the wonderful team at Netflix. My hope is that this film, by celebrating queerness and otherness, will come to audiences around the world as something truly special," end quote. No release date has been given for The Witch Boy. Its announcement comes just days after Netflix revealed it was adapting gay webcomic Heartstopper into a live-action series. Alice Osman's graphic novels about two male teens who become friends and later develop romantic feelings for one another have been commissioned for an 8-episode season penned by Osman.
Two things about this great news. One, I can't think of a way to make this story any gayer than by making it a musical. So that's great. Right. But two, this hit a personal chord for me because in the pagan community, it's long been a controversy that shouldn't be controversial to begin with, of men who are witches. And it's great because this story is showing, especially young kids, that if you are a man, you too can be a witch, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's a really interesting observation to me. My broad takeaway of this is, you remember Here Television? You remember Logo Television? Both of them groundbreaking at the time, and both basically failed. And the idea was that it would deliver the LGBTQ community to the LGBTQ community, and perhaps straight people might watch too. Both failed. I think it's interesting in 2021 that the #1 subscription service on this planet, Netflix, has become the leadership in LGBT programming in the world. It's absolutely amazing, and it's an example of the unique embracement that our community is getting broadly in media and Netflix and almost every place else.
Absolutely, representation matters.
Yes.
And this is just like we were just talking about Bumble, right? Like, I'm glad that it's Netflix that's bringing these queer stories to the mainstream for everyone to see and everyone to participate in. That's right. So it's really exciting news.
Exactly.
Next, we're going to queer up gay culture. Joy Behar explains why she identifies with gay people. Joy Behar has a long history of argument and controversy on daytime television's most popular show, The View. She stated, quote, "I identify with the fact that gay people, once they are out, have to deal with that. They have to be honest, and yet people are out to get them. I find that that's true on The View. I've been saying things, and I have a lot of enemies on the right. People on Twitter, etc., who hate me because of my politics. If I check their profiles, 2 words always come up, Jesus or Trump. As though I don't love Jesus. I love Jesus too. I'm a Catholic girl. I was confirmed. I love Jesus too, so don't tell me about Jesus. That pisses me off.
You know, it's funny. First off, in her statement, she says, wait, I love Jesus. She didn't say anything about the other person that she was talking about in that quote. Good job, Joy. And second, I think it's very interesting. Whenever you have somebody say, as a straight, older, white woman, I identify with the gay community, and here's why I identify, that second part is really critically important because it gives you an insight of understanding that you're understood. And she hits a bullseye with that of saying the rejection and hate speech that can follow. Proof of that was where her quote appeared in many places in social media and news reports. The amount of negative response that she got, being Joy Behar, was proof that her observation was correct. And she was making the analogy to the gay community. Very interesting.
You know, to me, she's one of those strong, outspoken women that the gay community generally likes to follow anyway. So I've always sort of seen her as a queer character, if that makes sense. I really enjoy Joy Behar. I love the fact that she is so incredibly outspoken and continues to be. And any kind of comparison to our community or assimilation to our community, I will welcome gladly. So thank you, Joy.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Tony, because I think of you as the gay Joy Behar. Yeah.
I thought I was the gay Faye. What?
No.
I'm like the gay every woman every week, I feel like.
All right, next let's...
I wanted to say, because it's my turn to comment,
Oh, sorry.
that I'm glad to have Joy along as an advocate for the community, though I do caution against comparing the oppression of two different groups of people, i.e. women and gays. We're both oppressed in different ways. It's not the exact same experience. That being said, I'm really happy that it's being recognized that the source of oppression for gay people and for women is the same source. And that's what we need to focus on.
That's a great point.
So Gordon has proved tonight he's the McCain character on Queer News tonight. Got it. I'm only playing.
No, I will not take that.
Okay, I know you won't. All right.
I'll be the whoopee though.
All right, let's move on to queering up politics. Lincoln Project disavows the closeted co-founder who was sexting a teenage boy for years. The conservative Republican group, the Lincoln Project, has been credited for its effective efforts to defeat Trump's re-election. One of the co-founders of the Lincoln Project, John Weaver, was recently outed as a gay man after it was revealed he had been sending inappropriate, sexually explicit messages to several men. In a new expose by the New York Times, 21 men have accused Weaver of sexually harassing them in one form or another. One of them, a 19-year-old, says that Weaver started sending him messages when he was just 14 years old. Weaver sent blatant requests for sex to at least 10 of the men, the newspaper reports, sometimes offering professional backing in exchange for sex. 2 men were offered jobs with the Lincoln Project in exchange for photos or sexting. Cole Trickle Meal alleges that he met Weaver on Twitter and the powerful Politico continued to message him over the next 5 years. Trickle Meal said, quote, I remember being a 14-year-old kid interested in politics and being semi-starstruck by John Weaver engaging in a conversation with me, end quote. Weaver said in a statement, quote, the truth is that I'm gay and that I have a wife and 2 kids who I love. My inability to reconcile these 2 truths has led to this agonizing place, end quote. The Lincoln Project's other co-founders said that they were unaware of Weaver's horrendous behavior and quickly condemned him. Their statement said, quote, John Weaver led a secret life that was built on a foundation of deception at every level. They said in a statement, quote, he is a predator, a liar, and an abuser. We are disgusted and outraged that someone in a position of power and trust would use this for their own means.
They didn't mince any words, huh? But agreed, like an abuser, a predator, like someone in a power that falls like this, I am very happy for. We can't afford to continue having people like this in power trying to abuse those that are often powerless. And I don't understand his comment. Like, his reaction was, I am gay, I'm married, and I still have 2 children. So you're a horrible human being, is what you're saying. And you're just really like now coming to terms with this? Makes no sense.
I agree and I disagree with you there, Tony. I think some people figure out that they're gay later in life, and that's just how it happens for some people. But I do think that the press release did mince words in not calling out the fact that this man is a pedophile. And he doesn't have the right to call himself gay or use the title that we all do and hide behind the fact that he is a predator. I'm going to call it out as it is. He is a pedophile, and he is not associated with our community, period.
I echo support of both of your observations. I go one step farther in saying I, of course, have empathy for his wife and his children and the people that he abused, because it is abuse. But I also have empathy for the entire LGBTQ community that is associated with this behavior. Because Tucker Carlson tonight or Laura Ingraham is going to go, this is what gay men are. And that is not true. And we have worked very hard to show that pedophiles in America are overwhelmingly straight white men. They are not gay. When we have stories like this, it just feeds an old, outdated, and ridiculous stereotype. And so I feel sorry for the people that are going to receive additional discrimination because of what this founder at the Lincoln Project has done.
Now it's time to queer up the USA. New report, hate groups in decline migrate to online networks. During one of the most politically divisive years in recent memory, the number of active hate groups in the US actually declined as far-right extremists migrated further to online networks, reflecting a splintering of white nationalist and neo-Nazi groups that are more difficult to track. In its annual report to be released, the Southern Poverty Law Center said it identified 838 active hate groups operating across the US in 2020. That's a decrease from the 940 documented in 2019 and the record high of 1,020 in 2018, according to the center, which tracks racism, xenophobia, and anti-government militias. About the report, the center said, quote, "It is important to understand that the number of hate groups is merely one metric for measuring the level of hate and racism in America, and that the decline in groups should not be interpreted as a reduction in bigoted beliefs and actions motivated by hate," end quote. The Montgomery, Alabama-based law center said many hate groups have moved to social media platforms and use of encrypted apps, while others have been banned altogether from the mainstream social media networks. White nationalist organizations, a subset of the hate groups listed in the report, declined last year by more than 100. Those groups had seen huge growth previous 2 years after being energized by Donald Trump's campaign and presidency, the report said. The number of anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, and anti-LGBTQ hate groups remained largely stable, while their in-person organizing was hampered by the coronavirus pandemic.
I think this is an important story because it highlights the fundamental failure of law enforcement in this country. The Southern Poverty Law Center didn't get this information by having some kind of special access. It's public knowledge. It's out there on the internet. And the FBI and other investigative organizations in this country have the power to find these people and prosecute them when there is lawbreaking occurring. It's just that they have a history of not doing that. You can look back in the 20th century, they had the COINTELPRO investigations where they were investigating movements that had, like the communist movement, they were saying people were communists when they weren't. They were going after Martin Luther King and all of the civil rights movement, but they weren't doing anything about white nationalism at that time, and they haven't been doing anything since then. And now it's coming to light how obvious it is, and I'm hoping that with this new administration, they're going to start to go after these people because they are a danger to our country, period.
Well, I believe that they are going to go after these people. It's only the end of week 2 of the new administration. First, the story provides a highlighter and an underline of the fact that we have been through 4 years of horrendous promotion of hate in America, and that's the reflection. Southern Poverty Law Center is showing that it is beginning to decline, and there's a number of reasons for that as the curtain comes down on Donald Trump. The other thing that I see, and I hope is true, but it's only week 2 of the new administration, is that we're going to see a pendulum swing, like what has happened to the uber conservative LGBT Trump groups. Gays for Trump, #walkaway, etc. We're seeing a wholesale rejection in social media. We see a complete shutdown of Trump's voice in social media. And those kind of changes are going to force these kind of radical organizations deeper and deeper and deeper. It is hard to motivate people when you can't communicate with them. And that's, I think, the pendulum swing that we're beginning to see in just the second week of
But to be fair, this isn't a Trump problem. This is an America problem.
Yes,
These people
absolutely.
were here when Obama was president.
Yeah,
We just
absolutely.
didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, like we talked about a couple of weeks back, like this is the beginning of the scurrying away of all of the problematic and hateful groups in our country. I agree with you, Gordon, wholeheartedly. This is absolutely an American disease. It's an issue that we have to hit head on. But I think it's a good sign that they're starting to sort of hide, right? They're going away. They're dissipating slowly but surely. So it is the beginning of more positivity to come, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, now we're done with America problems. Now we're going to queer up the world. Students in Turkey arrested over artwork with LGBTQ plus flags. 4 students in Turkey have been arrested over an artwork that depicts LGBTQ plus pride symbols alongside an image of a sacred Islamic site. Turkish Gazette Duvar English reports that the college was part of an exhibition at the Bugzizi University, where students have been protesting the appointment of Professor Meli Bulu as the school's rector. Bulu is believed to have links to President Erdogan's AK party. Under Erdogan, Turkey has grown increasingly Islamist and intolerant. Although same-sex relationships have not been prohibited by Turkish law, the country has become more conservative and hostile to the LGBTQ+ community and that has grown in recent years. The LGBTQ+ community has been increasingly targeted by hate speech, and crimes committed against them go unpunished. The Istanbul Pride March was banned from 2014 to 2019. The global pandemic prevented any attempt to hold one last year. The art piece has queer flags, the rainbow, lesbian, ace, and transgender flags in the corners of a depiction of the Kaaba, a building at the center of the Great Mosque in Mecca, considered one of the most sacred sites in Islam. The Istanbul governor's office called the artwork a, quote, ugly attack that mocked religious beliefs from immoral students, unquote, while Turkey's Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu tweeted that, quote, 4 LGBTQ deviants who committed the disrespect were detained at Bugzizi University, unquote.
Well, it's a complicated situation. Turkey, along with Russia, Poland, and Hungary are among the worst in Eastern Europe, Western Eurasia, in their response to the LGBTQ community. When you can have a painting and that cause arrest because the association of the mosque in Mecca combined with a rainbow flag be offensive enough where you get arrested, you know you have a lot and a long way to go in LGBTQ rights. The one positive here is that we are going to voice it in America. For 4 years, we've been silenced in doing that, including this strong man and the other strong man in Russia and the other strong man in Poland. And now we have voices in America that are going to stand up and say, this is not just. And I'm looking forward to it.
It's important. That's a good point, Al. I also think it's hopeful that these students are creating artwork like this, like they feel the need to express themselves, to express who they are. So hopefully this expression continues even among this discrimination, even among this attempted suppression of someone's authenticity. I hope that it continues.
I'm hoping that as stories like this continue to appear in the news cycle here in the United States, that we can really have a real honest conversation about the fact that fundamentalist religion is a major problem worldwide. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are really reluctant to criticize Islamic religion in this area of the world because it's not very politically correct, but we need to be able to be frank and honest about the fact that fundamentalist religion, no matter where it comes from, is bad, period. People are dying over it.
You know, I'm a little confused, Gordon. Were you talking about Turkey or Franklin Graham? I'm a little confused. Franklin Graham, fundamentalist religion. Well, that's our queer headlines for today. Let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies. Tonight we report on the devastating effect that coronavirus is having on the American and worldwide LGBTQ community, specifically in total cases and deaths. Tonight, February 2nd, we report that more than 1.8 million LGBTQ Americans have contracted COVID-19. And Queer News Tonight mourns the loss of nearly 31,800 from our American LGBTQ community because of coronavirus. That's the COVID-19 news that we report tonight. Next, we report that Happening Out Television Network works very hard to help support our LGBTQ community. An example is here at the Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set in supporting that partnership. The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
Hello, I'm Kishai Martin, board member of Unity Coalition, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Welcome to Q's Q&A on LGBTQ health and pandemic. For nearly a year, this segment has been unique in America, answering your LGBTQ community questions about our unique health needs. We are proud to have Queer News Tonight health anchor, Dr. Howard Grossman.
He is an American pioneer in HIV/AIDS medical treatment and was the executive director of the American Academy of HIV Medicine. He is a nationally recognized medical expert and proud member of our LGBTQ community. Good evening, Dr. Grossman.
Before we move into this week's questions, Dr. Grossman, we want to ask you about your thoughts of what happened this week in health news, COVID and otherwise, for our LGBTQ community.
I still feel like I should come in on a covered wagon being a pioneer.
I'm sorry, did we call you old? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, really. It's nice to see you all.
Yes.
I don't have anything really new. I think, it's clear that the Biden administration is trying very hard to get this vaccination stuff under control. I mean, really, talking to friends across the country, it really is down to a county level bureaucracy that's deciding who gets vaccine, when they're getting it, how they're getting it. It really is a hodgepodge that has just left people frustrated all over the place.
Yeah. And Dr. Grossman, I want to mention so many of my friends over the weekend, we had such high hopes in the announcement of the first vaccine, then the second vaccine, the inauguration of President Biden. I mean, goodness, he's only had 12 days and the new administration, and we've heard all of the news of the crater that he was left from the previous administration. But this weekend, I could feel and hear a bit of a growing pessimism over the news about vaccine deployment. Do you see it turning around in any short order, or what do you think about it? I know one of the questions we're going to ask is similar, but
I think it's going to take some federal policy. I think when you start to see these federal vaccination centers rolling out, which they've talked about, that will be a game changer in many ways. You saw articles this weekend about how Governor Cuomo in New York threw everything at the hospitals, and the hospitals are completely unprepared to be the centers for distribution. And totally ignoring the health department specialists who've been coming up with plans for 20 years for mass vaccination. So, I think it's going to take time as those experts get back in the saddle and back in control in Washington. But it seems to me that they have plans already in place it just takes time to roll out. It's been a little disappointing, truthfully, to watch some of the chatter online from people who are, screaming, Biden hasn't banned fracking yet, and he hasn't done this yet, and he hasn't done that yet. And you say, it's been 3 weeks, for God's sakes, and how many executive orders can he do? Clearly multiple departments, including the health departments, have been hollowed out around the country. This is going to take some time. But I do believe what Dr. Fauci says, that by April, there is going to be vaccine for most people.
Yeah, good. All right, well, let's jump right into the question.
My patients are really coming in very frustrated too. Yeah. But telling them April gives it sort of a target.
Yeah, okay. Let's jump into the questions, and we'll start with Tony.
Question number 1. What should I do if a COVID-19 variant has been found in my state?
Well, Tony, there have been multiple COVID variants, and certainly we're seeing lots of the British one here in Florida. We've seen a few of the South African variants that have shown up, and I'm not sure what the level of the Brazilian variant. So the thing is that the British variant, and now we have one from California that apparently developed spontaneously without any contact with Britain. That's very similar. It spreads more easily, but it doesn't necessarily cause more intense disease or more hospitalizations or more deaths. So the easier spread just means that people need to double down on what they've been doing to protect themselves. This is where you hear some of the people talking about double masking. And truthfully, my opinion is that it might be that if you're wearing a cloth mask, and so many of them are only one layer, and they keep falling down off people's faces, that perhaps putting on 2 masks in that situation helps. But if you can get an N95 mask, that should be adequate by itself to protect you. So it really is the fact that people are using inadequate masks. I think that's a problem. So that's the British variant. The South African variant is more worrisome because not only does it transmit more easily, but it seems to have some resistance to some of the vaccines we have. Now, they're already working on tweaking those vaccines so that they can develop antibodies against the spike proteins on those particular viruses. And I think that will come in a very short period of time. So what do you do? The same thing that we've been telling people to do for the whole year, just social distancing, masks, don't go to these places where people are dancing with no masks on. There's a lot of people that are recommending against indoor dining if you have a choice, if you can go outdoors, to go outdoors. I think those are still the main recommendations.
Fine. Thank you. Gordon, let's move on to the next question.
Question 2. Biden says the pandemic trajectory cannot be changed for months. Why is that?
Because it takes time. What we're seeing in hospitalizations, for example, we've seen a drop in new infections that will translate in 4 weeks or so to a drop in hospitalizations, hopefully, and then after that, a drop in deaths. I mean, all of this disease takes time to roll out. We're still now dealing with Thanksgiving at this point, not even Christmas. And so, that's why it takes time. And I think until you have enough people vaccinated, that you really cut into the new infection rate. I mean, the curve just dropped a little bit this week, but until you really make significant changes, that takes time.
Okay.
Question number 3. Do you have advice for dealing with or helping with anti-vaxxers?
Well, I think you need to divide anti-vaxxers in 2 groups. There's the total crazies, and we'll put them aside for a second. But there's a lot of people who have legitimate questions and fears about vaccination, as they have fears about almost anything scientific. And I think by writing these people off and treating them with disrespect, we alienate them and we have no chance to help them learn the science. So I think, on the one hand, you want to talk to people about the truth about vaccines. You want to understand where their fears are coming from. For example, some people will point out about that Dr. Andrew Wakefield from Britain, who isn't actually even a doctor anymore, that his paper, a paper that was written decades ago, that has been withdrawn, debunked. He lost his British medical license over the fact that he made up data and lied. And that is often the basis for what people talk about. So debunking some of that stuff can be helpful. Another thing that's very helpful is to not focus on the vaccine, but focus on the disease. So what are you presenting? What are you preventing? If you tell people what measles does to young children and how it kills them and how it can cripple them for life and cause brain damage, well, then the vaccine doesn't seem so bad. And the same with COVID. So I think, again, you want to treat those people with respect. The people who, don't want to deal with reality, don't want to deal with, how do you deal with the QAnon people? Sometimes you just have to turn them off. I do think that for the majority of people are just afraid and need some good information.
Yeah. All right. Terrific. That's very good advice. Educate your friends and family.
And treat with respect.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's tonight's Q&A on LGBTQ health and pandemic. We're here every Tuesday with Dr. Howard Grossman to answer your questions and our questions. Do you need medical assistance? And we always say, of course, in the LGBTQ community, you do. So we encourage you to contact Midway Specialty Care Center with 10 locations here in Florida, and especially Dr. Howard Grossman here in Wilton Manors and all over South Florida. Thank you again for this week, Howard.
Thank you all.
All right. Well, Q News Tonight next is proud to support our local 501c3 nonprofit organizations and charities, as well as South Florida events. And tonight we are pleased to feature Lambda Men's Brotherhood, a nonprofit organization focused on building a legacy of gay philanthropy with the mission to identify and help fund critical needs in our community. To tell us about their upcoming Love-IN-athon, presented by Happening Out Television Network and Underground Wilma, is Lambda's officer and close friend here at Happening Out, David Hopkins. Welcome, David, to Q News Tonight on the other side of the camera.
All right. Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Well, David, we're happy to have you here and tell us about this Valentine's event. Let's start there. Tell us about what you're doing.
Well, as a nonprofit that mainly raises funds through events, it's been a really tough year in pandemic. And a lot of people are locked up and can't necessarily have the romantic dates they'd like. So we decided we would do an old-fashioned variety show-style telethon with our Love-In-athon. We have a variety of entertainers. The world-famous Varla Jean Merman will be doing a stand-up routine for us. If you watch Gay Town Hall, Randy Boo will be premiering his music video for Magic in the Heart during the stream.
Can we pause just one more minute?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Okay.
Oh, you're fine.
Better.
We have local drag queens like Amanda Austin who will be performing for us, and local DJs like Daniel Christopher, who has DJ'd at the Manor and in South Beach, DJ Rent Boy, and several others.
And you'll be raising funds. Lambda is a leather-centric organization, and you'll be raising funds, and generally and through the year, you raise funds. Explain to us what you do with the money that you raise.
Well, generally, we will issue the money as grants to at-need organizations in the community. This year, we are getting a little ambitious. We are founding the Lambda History Series. It occurred to us that world history is LGBTQ history with so many major icons throughout the millennia. And as schools are passing curriculum requirements for LGBTQ history courses, there's no resource for people to draw from for lessons. So we are going to build lesson plans with the help of professors and educators that'll be available for free for schools and homeschoolers to access. We're raising funds through events like our Love-In-athon, and also we have an online thrift shop called traderblue.com. And so if you have leather gear you'd like to donate, you can go to donateleather.com or traderblue.com and contact us through there.
Yeah, excellent. And the event itself, how does it, well, first off, how do you participate in it?
We will be streaming through the Happening Out television network on Facebook and YouTube, and Underground Wilma on Twitch TV. So if you are a music fan, they do a lot of local DJ sets on the weekends. We will also have the stream on lmbftl.org, and you'll be able to donate via QR code during the stream or by going to lmbftl.org.
Excellent. And the website for Lambda is what?
lmbftl.org.
It's sitting
That's
right there.
Lambda Men's Brotherhood, Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, I was going to say it's a really good thing when you read. David, tell us about historically. Lambda Men's Brotherhood has been around for quite a while. You've raised a heck of a lot of money for a lot of organizations. Tell us a little bit about that. You're actually doing cash donation in grants, etc. What kind of history has Lambda had in doing that?
Well, the organization actually started as a spin-off of the Leather Mass Ball, which has celebrated its 15th year. The Leather Mass Ball was founded as a fundraiser for the Leather Archives and Museum in Chicago, which is a nonprofit itself, and then a few years afterwards spun off into an organization to also help with local charities. We've donated to everything from Kids in Distress, Abandoned Pet Rescue, Gilda's Club, any number of things in the community, soup kitchens, pet rescues, everything.
And how much have you raised through the years?
We're actually over $200,000 in funds that have raised through small pool parties and events and the Leather Mass Ball that we have every year. So it's not having events has really hurt us this year. So yeah, we definitely would like everybody to help us out and donate.
Yeah, well, that's a call to action. The event, the date again is?
It's on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Yeah.
The stream will start at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll go until we run out of content. And if you're an entertainer and would like to contribute content, email me, david@lmbftl.org.
And all of us bitter, jaded queens in our community, we should be celebrating Valentine's Day because...
Well, it's for charity. Think of the children. And also, we're going to start off with the mushy stuff in the afternoon and then move on to the DJs and the more dance party style theme as the evening goes on. So even if you're bitter and alone, you can still have a good time.
David, that's a terrific joke. Do it for the children. All right, very good. Lambda Men's Brotherhood, they deliver in terms of their support and efforts for our needs in our LGBTQ community here in South Florida. And David, I got to give you a plug. I understand you've been on Q and it's happening out 100 jillion times. But next week you're going to be launching your own show as the anchor. You're setting yourself up to replace me at Q. Is that what I read? Or?
No, I'm going to be a lot more fun. So because instead of talking about the stressful news, we'll be talking about travel with happening.travel.
I'm jealous as all get out. So. Yeah, so it's happeningout.travel, and it's a news show and talking about the things that are going on in the world.
Yep, and that is also our website. If you want to book a cruise or vacation, check us out.
David, I would highly suggest that Let me give you an anchor pointer right from the beginning. My anchor partners tonight, Tony Lima and Gordon. I would suggest that you probably at least seed. Are you doing it all by yourself? Or?
No, we've got the amazing Faye, what? Who will be my partner in crime, as it were, on the show.
All right, so that's next week. I can't wait to watch. You're going to be great at it. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Thank you.
And everybody support Lambda Men's Brotherhood. Tell us one more time the name of the event.
It's the Lambda's Love-In-athon,
Yeah.
and every little contribution helps. It doesn't matter if it's $1, $5, whatever you can contribute, and share word of the event, because the more people that can contribute that $1 or $2, the more money we can raise for charity.
Yeah, and the Lambda History Series is a brilliant idea. Come on, LGBTQ community, support that concept of improving curriculum in our schools, which is what Lambda is raising this money for. Congratulations. Great to have you with us tonight, David, on Queer News Tonight, especially on the other side of the camera.
I know, it's so nice.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, we are going to end tonight's broadcast with the big finish. These are today's silly or news that entertains the LGBTQ community. You got it. The big finish. Azalea Bank, I always pause. Azalea Bank says gays are appropriating horse culture with harnesses and ketamine.
I'm
Why is
surprised
she
to hear
even...
anything from her because I thought she was canceled. But you know what? I'm surprised that this is what makes her think that we're appropriating horse culture and not all of the tops in our community.
Oh, Lord. I was just going to say, Azalea Banks, who at this point? Let's move on. Let's just move on.
We're just done? Well, I'm stuck in Gordon's observation about tops and horses.
Of course.
All right?
Only
the
good
big
ones.
finish. Well, at least that's what I heard. The big finish. Newly discovered, this is fascinating, a nano chameleon is the world's smallest known reptile. Just discovered.
Adorable.
That's a fingertip.
I'm thrilled about this because it's finally a news story where I can see a small reptile and it's not coming from the Senate floor.
And where do these reptiles live? Are they like natural to South Florida?
No, I don't. Well, we have all kinds of reptiles here.
I know lots of them. Yes.
Yeah. You beat me to the joke, damn it. I think it's interesting on this nano chameleon that we think we know everything about the planet, and then we discover something like this. It's very, very cool. It makes me believe there is a Loch Ness monster. I believe it. All right, in the big finish. Oh, and she's my favorite girl these days. QAnon Congresswoman ban pride, hate America flags at embassies. Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tony, I bet she's a favorite of yours.
She is. I just can't wait to see what she has to say every single day because it just becomes more and more idiotic. So I'm guessing hate America flags are pride flags, right?
Yes, pride flags.
So because we're LGBTQ people, we are automatically inciting people to hate America.
Yes, we hate
Lady,
America.
go away.
Rainbow colors
Just
and
go away.
Dorothy hate America.
I want her to keep it up because it's just proving the point that the Republican Party is the party of Trump. They are the party of hatred and division. So I'm hoping that our Democratic Congress can get together and censure her ass and get her out of there.
Yeah, the
Censor
loss of
her ass,
committees,
yes.
loss of committees, I think is wonderful. I guess everybody has seen Mitch McConnell's comment, and Marjorie Greene's response to that is the problem in America is the lack of support of our Republican Party, and because they're not universalist Trumps still, or Trumpsters, that's the problem with America, at least this week. That's the problem.
This week.
I guess the gays hate America too, even though I can't think of anything less American than white supremacy.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
On that note, that is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news. We are the only television live video news that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of anchors Tony Lima and Gordon Woodworth III, we'll see you daily and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night, America.